There's our mission patch. You can see the Soyuz rocket is, helps. We remember the Soyuz rocket and our Russian partners. It makes the Roman numeral I, along with the X for exploration, and that's Expedition 9 for you. I'd like to introduce my commander and a very good personal friend of mine. I actually think of him as my older brother now. We have known each other since the year 2000. We trained 4 years together, first as backups to Expedition 4 and then on to fly on Expedition 9. Gennady Ivanich Padalka, 46 years old. In fact, he had his 46th birthday while we were aboard the space station. He flew already on Mir 26 for 199 days in space. He had the experience, he had the knowledge, and he's an enthusiastic guy. In fact, I consider him brilliant because he thinks all my jokes are funny. I mean, I kept him laughing for 6 months, and you can see that my jokes aren't all that good. But anyway, maybe he's just brilliant. We trained together, and here we are at Star City, saying goodbye to our families. There's Gennady and his 3 daughters. His wife's in the yellow. There's Point. My parents came all the way from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, out to Star City to see me off. Back in Kazakhstan in Central Asia, Baikonur Cosmodrome, they're wheeling out our rocket. You can see it's a lot smaller than the space shuttle. But it's reliable. That's the same launch pad that Yuri Gagarin launched from in 1961. And when I got hired on at NASA, little did I ever think that I'd be able to launch from the same launch pad as Yuri. We're getting our suits on, our launch and entry suits, and at this point I always tell the kids every time I'm wearing a spacesuit, I'm smiling. We were happy, we were giddy, getting ready to go launch in space. Along with us, you saw Dr. Andrei Kaupers. He's from the European Space Agency. He launched with us and landed with Expedition 8. So he had a 10-day research mission, piggyback, between the 2 Soyuz up and down flights. And here we are launching together, getting ready to say goodbye to gravity, goodbye to our homes and families, and here we are launching. Now, the roar of the rocket is just outstanding from outside, but inside it was kind of nice and quiet, and it was a very smooth ride all the way up. Now we went just like the space shuttle from 0 to 17,500 miles an hour in 9 minutes. So it took us only 9 minutes to get into orbit. It's a 3-stage vehicle, and you can see us on the inside coming right here, still smiling, all the way all the way up, and. Here we go. There I am smiling, and it was very exciting to be there. Of course, I was watching the instruments and doing my job as a flight engineer at this time, but it was still amazing. Here's the staging event, and that's the only bumpy part of the ride is when we drop off a few stages. Now, although it took us 9 minutes to get into orbit, it was still another 2.5 days before we actually rendezvoused and docked with the space station. We had to match our orbits. And you can see our Soyuz TMA-4 spacecraft, Soyuz 8, it's docking to the space station. Now, it stayed on board with on the space station with us. It served as our lifeboat, and we came back down 6 months later in the same spacecraft. Aboard the space station already, there's Expedition 8. Dr. Michael Foll, commander, and Alexander Kaleri as a flight engineer. They hadn't seen any other human beings for 6 months, so I think they were happy to see even us. Gave us a warm welcome. Russian tradition is bread and salt, and so they gave us some salt tablets and some space bread. And they handed over a spacecraft in great shape, and this is our change of command ceremony as we get ready to say goodbye to Expedition 8 and thank them for giving us a good spacecraft. We were very lucky to have Mike Foll there to show us around, and Sasha to show Gennady around, because this is what the space station looks like on the inside. There's Gennady. He's welcoming you all aboard our beautiful space station. So this is the American laboratory module called Destiny. You can see it, it's nice and clean, very bright. It's a great module. It's connected with the Unity or Node 1 module. You can see our computers, laptops, we use those for telephones, space telephones sometimes. And here's the airlock. You can see there's 2 spacesuits in there. Turns out one of those spacesuits was broken, and we had a chance to fix it later on. And as we go through the pressurized mating adapter here, you can see all these white bags. That's how we store our clothes. We store our toothbrushes and towels and things like that. Looking down here, that's where we came in from. That's the Soyuz spacecraft, our lifeboat. And here we are into the first module of the space station that was sent up, the functional cargo block. And you can see the cargo on the floor. All that cargo is waiting to come back home aboard the space shuttle. That is a unique capability that the space shuttle does. It not only does it take up a whole bunch of things, but it brings it down too. And nobody else can do that like the space shuttle can. So we're waiting for the space shuttle to take all that cargo. This is the docking compartment. It serves as a docking compartment as well as an airlock. And Gennady and I ended up taking 4 spacewalks from here, 1 short one and three long ones. And as we go to the aft end of the space station, this is the service module called Zvezda, which means star. It's the heart of the space station, and that has most of the life support equipment, such as our oxygen generator, our carbon dioxide removal system, water tanks, and things like that. It's also where we eat every day. Gennady and I enjoyed 3 meals a day together. It was really a highlight of our day when we had a chance to talk over sleep compartments for 2 crew members. The Russian sleep compartments have a beautiful view. That's our planet from space. We never got tired of looking at our planet. Excuse me, this is where I slept. It's the American temporary sleep station. I like to point out to the American designers it doesn't have a window, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, we slept standing up in sleeping bags. I had a little space to call my own. A laptop on board. I read over 30 books. They sent me electronic books. So anytime I wanted a new book, they could send one up, and I had a chance to read a story before I went to bed every night. This is our food. We had a mix, approximately a 50-50 mix of Russian and American food. And we didn't have a microwave oven or any refrigerators or freezers on board, so everything is kind of thermal stabilized or canned food. So the Russians send up a lot of food in cans, and American food, a lot of it came up in pouches, like meals ready to eat. Really neat because it takes the humidity out of the air, the condensate that comes out of the air conditioner. It gets pasteurized and filtered, and it's very nice, clean drinking water. Now, the thing of it, though, is that it comes in 2 types. It comes in lukewarm or hot. So I was missing anything cold for 6 months. And so when I came back, I was just looking forward to a nice cold lemonade or anything cold. So you can see liquids behave differently in space, and here we are kind of playing with our drink a little bit. And you can see that without gravity, things just don't stay in cups. And I tell kids right there that you can eat your drink in space. Now, one of the things that we've learned with our beautiful International Space Station is the importance of exercise. Half hours every day, things like on our treadmill or our resistive exercise device here, we've actually been able to slow down, or I don't say get rid of, but minimize the amount of bone loss and muscle loss that long-duration crew members have been experiencing in space. And more about that later, but I was really glad to exercise 2.5 hours every day. After exercising for 2.5 hours, I would have loved to take a shower. Well, we didn't have a shower. I would love to take a bath. We didn't have one of those too. So this is kind of how we clean up in space. We have prepackaged wet towels, and those work. So even though it was 6 months without a shower, my wife says I didn't come back smelling too bad. It's really it's an okay way to keep clean. The shampoo you saw me putting on is standard space shampoo. It's not water-based, so you just put it on your head and wipe it off with a towel. By the way, for haircuts, I got my hair cut about once a month. We have a special razor that's connected to a vacuum cleaner, and it has to be to a vacuum cleaner because it'd be really nasty. You just have all the hair pieces floating around, poke out somebody's eye or something. But we had a hair clipper, and I just had a haircut about once a month. Now, you'll see in the video, Gennady actually didn't cut his hair. Russian tradition over time, so you can see how big hair can get over 6 months. Well, in space, you can get a nice clean shave, still smiling. Along the way, my wife had our baby. It was in June. In fact, our baby just turned 9 months old last month. We didn't originally have it planned that way. We thought we were going to be Expedition 10, but we switched the batting order at the last minute. And my wife, God bless her, she let me go fly in space. So she had this baby kind of, by herself. But on the other hand, it wasn't quite by herself. The NASA family stepped in, and we had great support all the way around. And there I was listening to my baby and everything, and I had a video conference and got to see my baby just a few hours after she was born. So really appreciate that, and really. So Gennady was there for me too, and he gave me that flag in the background, and I gave him some Pennsylvania chocolate, and he was just as happy as I was, and it was really great to have the birth of my daughter. So what did we do on our mission besides play with our food and things like that? Well, we had a really strong mission. Our first directive was to take good care of that space station. But we also had here I am taking good care of the space station. Now, you know how strong I look and everything. Well, that weighs about 1,000 pounds. In space, you can just pick it up with one hand. One of the joys of flying in space is the weightless environment. So we are doing some more maintenance aboard the space station. We took good care of our ship. We were proud of our ship, and we knew how hard it was to put together. Well, we were going to make sure it stayed together. Here we are on our science program. One of the hallmarks of our science program was the ultrasound machine. We actually, for the first time, were able to measure bone changes, mainly a little bit of density loss over time. Every couple weeks, we'd scan each other's bones. With the help of telemedicine on the ground, we were actually able to, for the first time, quantify and qualitatively and quantitatively over time human bone loss in space. We actually wrote a scientific paper and submitted it from the space station. Space station's a good place to do science. We saw us working on a soldering experiment. Well, when we go to the moon and Mars, we need to know how soldering, how to fix our own soldering, fix our own electronics with solder. And you can see liquids behave different. Actually, in the weightless environment, get some really fundamental physical insight to fundamental properties of surface tension and things like that. And then here we're melting, so we're actually foaming up some metal in this little capsule here. And we're going to bring that capsule back down to the ground and look how metal works in space, because liquids behave very differently. And when we go to the moon and Mars, we're going to start using some of the resources from those places instead of our planet. But you can see we're showing off here to the kids of how different in space. You just open up a bag of those chocolates and they just float everywhere. You have to watch out. You can lose things easily in space. But we also showed the joys of just floating around. I mean, from the standard astronaut front flip to flying like Superman. We really enjoyed. Here we go. That was our second favorite thing in space, was just to enjoy the freedom of all three dimensions. I got tired of standing on the floor, so I stood on the ceiling, and you can see Gennady and I really enjoyed the space flight, enjoyed microgravity. Along the way, we ran into a few problems. Our oxygen generator conked out on us, and by working carefully with the ground, the specialists on the ground, they were able to guide our hands and eyes, and we were able to fix the oxygen generator for a while. And that was good, because I'm addicted to breathing, and we had some spare oxygen on board, but this way we didn't have to dig into those spares very much, because we were able to fix our own equipment. And there I was fixing a spacesuit. That was the first time we ever fixed an American spacesuit on orbit. So we're learning different ways to, and I was never trained on how to fix it, but they sent up some instructions, some videos. I had some conferences with the specialists on the ground, and I got some onboard training just in time to fix things. So those are the kind of things we need to work out as we go to the moon and Mars, so we get farther away from our planet. And finally, we're getting ready to do our spacewalks. Now, our spacewalks were unique. Expedition 8 opened up the door for us. They had the first spacewalk with only 2 people from the International Space Station, and we continued on with more. Here we are in Russian spacesuits using American gear, such as American headlights and a few other things, including American tools, on the American part of the space station. We had to, since the U.S. spacesuits were still broken at the time and not certified to work, we actually got in Russian spacesuits, walked hand over hand across our beautiful, huge International Space Station, went over to the American side and replaced a power control module that was faulty, and gave us one of our gyroscopes capability back. And this was the first time we'd ever done a lot of things, including putting American gear on Russian spacesuits, bringing out the best in both worlds, and as well as going over to the American side of the space station in Russian space gear. And it worked out together to make it happen. We started out the spacewalk speaking Russian. As soon as we got over to the American side of things, we switched right over and started talking to the American Control Center. And it was really comforting, even though there's just a few millimeters of metal and fabric between me and the open cosmos. I wasn't worried because I knew there were people all over this planet pooling for us, working on this space walk to make sure everything was safe. Our second set of spacewalks were ones that we had planned for already. The first ones, that was kind of a surprise bonus, but it shows it's good to have human beings up there for flexibility. But our second spacewalks, we did what we had already we trained for. We set things up on the outside of the service module, and here we are on the outside of the FGB replacing a pump. But the service module work was to get ready for a new cargo ship, the autonomous transfer vehicle from the European Space Agency. So we installed some antennas and laser reflectors. But our most favorite thing to do on the International Space Station was to look out the window. Anytime we were feeling sad or a little bit grumpy or something, we'd just take a look out the window and we'd just smile. I mean, we have a beautiful planet. That was Bora Bora Island. This is the Congo River in Africa. I took 21,000 photos of the planet in my spare time. This is Andes Mountains and a glacier that goes between them and melts off in these high alpine lakes. On the equator, Mount Kilimanjaro. On the equator, there's snow at high altitudes, and we captured that rare view of Mount Kilimanjaro. And this is my favorite photo, I think. In the desert where the city of Cairo meets the desert, right here you can see the pyramids of Egypt. I got to see that from space. Every day we got to see something incredible and new. We have a beautiful planet, and we kind of really got a little philosophical sometimes to saying, wow, there's 6 billion people on the planet, and 2 of us are off. Well, I'm glad here at the headquarters and at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, we're working to make sure there's more than 2 people off the planet all the time. We're going places, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of places, this is Hurricane Ivan. You're looking at Ivan straight down in the eye. Look at that. You can see through the eye to the ocean below. Absolutely breathtaking. And these photos, these videos, just do not capture what our eyes were seeing. But we tried to do our best. That's why I took 21,000, because I got to share what we were seeing. And none of them really, none of those images really captured what we were seeing. Well, anyway, it's about 20 minutes since I started talking. The mission's about over. Here's the next crew coming up. In fact, these guys are still on board. Dr. Leroy Chow and Colonel Salajan Sharipov, Expedition 10. And that 20 minutes, though, it went by quickly. But that's how fast that whole mission felt. Now, talking to my beautiful wife, she thinks it lasted a lot longer than 6 months. I felt it lasted shorter, so I guess it balances out. But here we go, Expedition 10. This was just a few months ago. In fact, I'm wearing the same space flight suit that in this video as I am now. But a few months ago, there's my replacement, Colonel Salajan Sharipov. He was the commander of the Soyuz, but flight engineer of the space station. And along with him is Leroy Chow. And a third guy came up for the Russian researcher. He stayed up with us for 10 days and then came back down on our spacecraft. So you can see Leroy. He's up in space right now along with Salajan. And they're doing a great job as Expedition 10. And here's Colonel Yuri Shargin, Russian Space Forces and Russian researcher. And this is our handover as we hand over our spacecraft. You can see Gennadi's hair, by the way. As we hand over our spacecraft to the next crew. We were really proud of our work. We were really proud of our relationship with the mission control centers across the planet, Houston, Huntsville, and Moscow. We really enjoyed working together, Gennady and I, and we were really proud that we turned in a spacecraft that was better than we got it and ready to go for the next expedition. Leroy and Salajan have worked really hard to maintain that tradition that we inherited from Expedition 8. But we were really proud of our work, but we were really sad to go. But on the other hand, it was time to go. I was missing my family. It was time to go home. My daughter was 4 months old and starting to do really interesting things, and I needed to come back home to my family, and Gennady felt the same way. So it was kind of bittersweet as we're saying goodbye to the space station that human hands have built, people across the planet working together constructively. So it was tough to close that hatch and to undock from the space station. So there's our Soyuz TMA-4 spacecraft. I was sitting in the left seat this time as a co-pilot on the way home, and what an interesting journey on the way back. So here we are. one of my last views of our beautiful International Space Station. Just overwhelming. So we were 17,500 miles an hour. We had to go down to zero. So we used the Earth's atmosphere to slow us down. And there we are. We're blazing a fireball through the sky. Leroy and Salajan were able to take this picture from the space station as we slow down in the atmosphere, and we slowed down. The parachutes came out, and we landed on the ground in central Kazakhstan, Central Asia, on a little tiny Soyuz spacecraft. It got us home safely. So here we are back on the ground, safe and sound. Now, most people ask, and I was wondering myself, at my first space mission, long time, 6 months, how was gravity? Getting used to gravity again. Well, I felt great because I did my exercise, and we have a great exercise program aboard Space Station. So I felt great. I felt I could have walked off the craft. Now, of course, they didn't let us because it was dark outside and uneven terrain, and it would have been embarrassing for everybody. 6 months of safe space flight and break your leg on the ground. So they carried us around. I could get used to this. It was, but we were feeling great. And you can look at how big that spacecraft is not. I mean, it brought us home. It brought us home safely. A few hours later, we flew all the way from Kazakhstan back to Moscow, on the outskirts of Moscow, here at Star City. There's Gennady reporting back into headquarters, and you can see we're walking fine, just a little bit of dizziness. And even more importantly, though, thanks to NASA, my family was able to come out, and there's me meeting my daughter for the first time, my beautiful wife, my son who's now 3 years old. He really missed me, and I missed him too. I really missed my family. So here we are, a happy homecoming and a happy ending to a really happy expedition. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the work we're doing together here at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration is absolutely amazing. It's something that human beings should be doing across this planet. So thank you very much. Thank you for letting me talk and share this little bit of adventure of as human beings step towards the stars. Thank you.